Oh, homies. My homosexuals. Just my sexuals. Why not? Whoever's around. Great day today. I am starting to get a better feel for my lifting. Got to clue you in because I know some of you weren't here yesterday. But essentially, had really good lifts with the heavy clean and jerk stuff. But I've gotten so good for my own standards along the way of the years that I've been training that I stopped thinking about the technique so much and just was able to go as heavy as I wanted with good technique. And I've now gotten back to that teeter-totter point where the technique is now going down even though my strength is going up, and I need to reprioritize what's truly important to these lifts. And it's the technique, it's the core confidence, the explosiveness in general, you know? And gonna be honest, not just with you, but also with myself, I wasn't super proud of the Olympic lifting today. The snatches honestly weren't very pretty, and I did have one failed rep at 205, not because it was too heavy, but just I didn't lock it in whatsoever. I was just whipping it to whip it without a thought in the world, and you gotta put in enough desire and purpose behind the lift before you do it so that you can actually commit in such a quick and, more of a mental movement than anything. You can't really think about it too much while you're whipping underneath because there's no time to. It's just doing what your body knows best and committing as hard as you can. And I did what my body knew, I just didn't commit. But anyway, the whole idea of what I talked about yesterday was just getting on a track where the standard of my lifting goes in a direction that makes my technique so good that I don't ever have to worry about my form breaking, and I can just focus on the strength after I've reprioritized my core and my technique. Because again, I've never been stronger. It's just a matter of I can't use my muscles to the highest potential because I'm going too heavy for what they're capable of, that with shitty technique, especially on my front squats. I obsessed over it for the past day, just watching videos, trying to get inspired and see what something would work. Looked at some of my old stuff because my front squat used to be crazy heavy because I was just able to drive through it. But getting as heavy as I did back before my knee exploded, that was kind of the reason my technique started to take a drop. It wasn't that my form was bad per se, but I was going so heavy so often at weights that I wasn't fully confident with technique-wise that I got comfortable and used to my standard being my back rolling forward a little bit or my core crunching a little bit during the squat. And that's not optimal. That can't be what I aim for when I'm trying to get a perfect clean and jerk, And I was definitely fatigued from yesterday. I'll tell you what, the really shaky, not so good looking, scary second attempt at 315 yesterday, that definitely, no pain, don't get me wrong, just a little soreness, a little discomfort, but my left knee and my low back definitely were a little more sore than I wanted them to be. And I've explained in the past where even though my left knee is fully PT'd and recovered and rehabilitated to the best of the ability that I could do it, does not, whenever I overtrain or do something poorly, because I've had that injury and my body had to move through it, it's always going to be there. If I ever go through anything when it comes to getting injured, when it comes to my knees, the left one's going to be the first to go every time, just because of that experience of getting a tear on my left quad tendon. So that in mind, I did, the Olympic lifts were not bad. The snatches were not bad. It was a full recovery day today, so I'm thankful that I started programming a little bit lighter and forcing myself to chill out some days because now I could really focus on the technique and hone that in. Because, again, they weren't perfect. I didn't have as much strength in my shoulders and elbows that I should have had for how good I felt today. And, again, it's shoulda, coulda, woulda, whatever. I put in the best effort, and I did make my last set look decent enough. It's something that it's not perfect, and I'm good with accepting that. And it's a good thing because now I'm going to want to come in to overperform past that next time. That's the whole idea of having a higher hope without expectation for the next training session. It's whatever you think you did poorly on today that you wanted to hit an extra set on just to make it look pretty, don't. Because if you already did the set and you had technically good lifts, my elbows locked out, I had good catches overall, they just weren't as symmetrical and balanced as they could have been, that can't be something that I merit a second set for. I gotta give myself that time to come back recovered and I'm gonna want it twice as bad the next time I come in. So I have to really learn to just be okay with not being fully satisfied, because that's the whole idea of having a higher desire to go heavy on the heaviest days. But anyway, beyond that, back squat was where I really locked it in, because even though my knee didn't feel as confident as I wanted it to, I knew it felt fine. I did some single leg, not pistol squats, but like, you know, standing up from a bench or a seat just with one leg, like emulating the second half of a pistol squat, just to get that confidence and make sure it was there. No pain at all confident, all good. It was just more mental than anything because of how hard I went yesterday. So I was like, okay, I know I'm good for a fact, so I'm going to give it the maximum effort that I am attempting to achieve with this new standard. And, you know, something that I used to do with all of my squats was emphasize as hard as I could. Like, I could have a good controlled descent, whatever, at my own pace. But when it came to coming out of the hole, the bounce, that had to be my number one priority. Bouncing as springy and as hard as I could, locking everything in as hard as I can, no matter what rep or what set it is, you know? So much so that I'm not just driving through the bounce and the sticking point, but driving through the entire lift all the way back up till my knees are fully extended again. And like, so much so that you're going to see the bar whip on my back. You know, that's the goal for like the kind of intensity and the kind of explosiveness that I want to get that confidence back in my technique. Because it's not that I don't know how to do it, and all my warm-up sets look good, especially on front squat too. It's just when it comes to those grind out sets that my form starts to struggle because the priorities aren't where they need to be. And it felt great. Again, it was a full recovery day. Did some lighter stuff on squat than what I'm used to. It's still not light, but for the rep range I went for, it was pretty not lackluster, but it was the different focus that I needed to work on something that will enhance my heavy squat next week, you know? Because it's always going to feel heavy, but it's the difference of being confident in that technique and that drive that makes it different, you know? And I'm very proud of it. I decided that, like, I need to, along with the standards with my lifting in general, the technique and stuff, I want my standards for what lifts I'm lifting to be more cohesive as well. Because I used to get into the mindset where I was like, okay, well, like, if I'm working up to a bench over 3 plates or a squat over 4 plates, then let's just start making bigger jumps. And that's not honestly necessary. You know, those warm-up sets, even if you're doing 1 or 2 extra than what you think you need, they're necessary. You know, they're what you need in order to fully lock in the explosiveness and the confidence on the later lifts, you know, those last top sets. And I, like, right now, like, I've been doing jumps of, like, I'd go from 2 plates to 225, I go from 225 to 275 on bench, or like I'd go from 315 to 365 on squat. And of course it's doable, but it's not as confident as it could be. And, you know, you get in this mindset when you start skipping warm-up sets like that if you end up doing them, then it's going to make you too tired to go as heavy as you want. And I'm here to tell you, if you're scared of getting too heavy because you did 1 extra warm-up set that should have been easy because it was a warm-up set, then it's too heavy in the first place. You know, that's where your injuries are going to come in. So that's what I'm trying to avoid. So, like, I for my squats today, I actually added 345 into the mix so that I could have more consistent jumps through my recovery day. You know, and that'll make it a lot easier to get up to like 4 plates without having such a big jump. Because if 365 feels really hard, I then have to relock it back in and put in more effort on 385 when it comes to my technique than I did on 365. And every single set should feel like a PR set. And I mean that with a fucking passion, dude. Every set needs to feel like you're going to PR. Not weight-wise, obviously, but regardless if you're holding the bar, a plate, 2, 3, 4, I don't care. Whatever weights you are doing, you have to treat it exactly the same as you would a PR set. And I'm not talking about screaming your head off, taking a bunch of pre-workout, going nuts, ego-wise. I'm saying when it comes to how hard you think you're going to have to explode out of the bottom or lock your elbows and your shoulders in, like that's where I really lacked in the snatch today. Because on my warm-ups, I was going real easy. I wasn't thinking about my technique. I was just kind of whipping it to whip it at my own pace, not thinking about my lockout as much. And by the time I got to the heavy stuff, at 205 isn't even heavy. But by the time I got to my top set, I had already messed up along the way and had to relock it back in, I had to prioritize my technique over my strength as the weights were getting heavier. And, your technique should come through on those early warm-up sets, and then you transition to focusing on the strength of it, because you should have the technique locked in before you get heavy, And that's where the snatch lacked today. But I'm super happy that I got to pick that back up on the squat, because every single set, every single rep, I don't care that every single set I did a set of 4 today, no matter what weight. And I had the goal not just to hit a heavy weight today, but that every single rep look and feel the exact same, no matter what. And when it comes to having that bar whip at the top of the squat, because of how hard I'm driving through the entire squat and not just a portion of it, because some parts seem easier than others, you should be fully locked in, braced, and exploding every inch of your reps. And that's the mindset you have to have, because that's how you would do it on your PR set. So why would you want to wait to feel that confident until you got to the heavyweight you're unsure of in the first place? You should be fully committed and locked in and fully sure of yourself by the time you get there. And that's how I felt yesterday with clean and jerks. The only reason I messed up was because of my inefficiencies on the front squat in the first place, that made it to where my core wasn't strong enough to catch weight that I clearly could do. So it's really, you got to change the mindset away from, I need to hit this one weight, and think, I don't deserve to hit this weight until the set before it is perfect. And not, obviously nobody's going to be perfect, but as perfect as you can be to your standard of that current day. Whatever energy you've got to put into it, no matter, it's okay to be fatigued, but you got to be able to put in that maximum effort, no matter how bad you feel, and adhere that to what your body's capable of that specific day. Today isn't a day that I would squat 425 for sure. But it's a day where I was like, okay, this is why we recover. And this is having as good and explosive and confident of a day today is going to be what makes it so much easier when I put on 445 next week. That kind of mentality. You got to think of the entire session as a whole rather than just thinking of the one number at the end of it. Because the number, I'm always going to say it, even if I stray away from that mindset sometimes, the number is an accessory to your lifts every time. We are not here to hit heavy numbers. We're here to be happy, passionate, and positive about our daily lives and the effort that we put behind them. And if the numbers come, even better. Even more passion be put into it. But if I peaked tomorrow, I would still keep doing it with the hope that I'd find progress and positivity in a different part of the lift, because the progress is relative to what I want it to be. Like today with my squats, I wasn't focused on hitting the heaviest weight I could, or I wasn't even focused on the heaviest set. I was focused on exploding through the entire squat, every single rep, every single set. And taking that focus off of the heaviest set of the day actually made the heaviest set feel easier and more confident, because I'm not thinking about how hard it's going to be to get through the sticking point that matters most. I'm thinking about what I'm going to feel after the end of the rep, because I want to, my goal isn't just to achieve a good bottom position or a good explosion and drive through the sticking point. It's a drive through the entire lift, and that bar whip at the top that I know that I have that core confidence to do. That's when my brain is like, good, that's a good one right there, And so having the priorities be just slightly different can make it to where you can be twice as confident in weight that you're twice as doubtful about, Any other day, if I was just thinking about the weight today, guarantee you it would have looked worse, it would have looked harder, and the warm-up sets would have been inconsistent for the weight that I put up at the end. Because I know on my Instagram especially, or on the short stuff, I just do that because I like putting music behind it. It scratches the back of my ADHD brain a little bit. But you only see the heaviest stuff, the set that I was most proud of and most efficient with of the day, because no matter what you do, the heaviest set, your body's going to lock in, and you're not going to be able to think about your technique. You're just going to have to do what's natural because it's that heavy, And so this is why I like doing the full videos, so that you can see the whole encompass of what this session was and what every set meant for the next. Because the reason the snatch wasn't there like I wanted it to be, it was because I didn't put in that effort every single rep of every set, especially at 205, before I got to the heaviest one, And if I had, the heaviest one would have looked just as good as the last day. I shouldn't be declining in my technique unless I've gone too heavy, and that shouldn't be the case based off this new programming. So it's a mental thing. It's a different sort of focus that I need, on my snatch, it might be better to focus a little bit more on how hard I lock out my shoulders and elbows and wrist rather than on my lower body and my core, because with the snatch, your lower body, it doesn't need to do half the effort your upper body does because of how shoulder dependent the lift is, you know? So it's just that little change of a thought towards something that is meant to be an accessory to your lifting that makes it to where you can lift twice as confidently with a better technique, you know? But anyway, physically, before I get out of here, even though it wasn't perfect, it wasn't as energetic and it wasn't as crazy, because of the squat especially, and what I learned from my snatch today, gotta give it a solid 8.45. I'll put it there, because the snatch definitely brought it down a bit. The squats were very cohesive. I'm very happy with the squats, no complaints. And the snatch just makes me want to come back twice as much, you know? And so I'm going to make progress. It's going to get there. It just wasn't where it needed to be today. And again, these days are the ones that I need to go through and push through so that I can come back and kill it next time. That's always the mindset. There's always going to be room for improvement, and there's always going to be that want and that desire to get back in there so that you can just simply make that one positive addition to what you're already happy about. Mentally, easily got to give it 9.1, just over the threshold of the 9s. It felt really good today. I got nothing to complain about. And I decided I had some really good talks with some homies today. It's always good to just spread that kind of positivity. Like, somebody mentioned that they're not great with therapy, and I was like, man, sometimes you just need a good homie, man. Because a lot of people would just prescribe a drug or tell you some terms they read out of a textbook. And people who need therapy don't need a doctor or a drug as much as they need someone that's just going to give them some love. You know, that's the whole idea. You just need a homie to give you a good mindset so that you can just go do it on your own, you know? But other than that, I really want to get better with my cooking as well. I've eaten out. I don't fucking judge me for this, but I've eaten out every single day for almost a month now. You know, if you've been around, I started working the new job a little over 3 months ago, and it's kind of the first time I've been making bigger money. You know, it's not big money by any means, especially in the big boy adult world, but it's enough. And when you have that little bit extra, and I already don't buy anything for myself anyway, it's so easy to just stop cooking. It's so easy. But I feel worse, and I want my recovery to be better, and cooking some good chicken or rice or noodles with a good sauce, it will be twice as good while half of it as expensive, you know? If you go to Walmart right now, you can get a pack of noodles, sauce, and meat for every meal would be like less than $3, you know, for big meals. That's all you need. So like, shit, why not? So I'm going to lock that shit in, do better, and just get better about a good schedule. You know, do some stretches and stuff in the morning when I wake up and before I go to bed at night, just so I stay consistently loose and consistent with the confidence I want in my low back and core, especially, as much as my joints. But I'll be back tomorrow. We're going to do the recovery clean and jerk. So I think that'll be just a 275 double, like last time, and then heavy bench. We're going to see if that's actually locked in, because I didn't feel great on the last one, but I didn't have to go heavy. It was recovery day, thankfully, so I got to lock in the technique a little bit more, give it that rest time it needed. So hopefully, with all the technique, the focus more on the technique and that good drive, I'm going to try to really exemplify that into the bench tomorrow, because we're going to go up to 325. It's going to be a little special. So we'll see what happens. And either way, I'll be back doing better every single day. So let me know how y'all's lives and listening going. You know, I love hearing about it. And I'll be back tomorrow. Love you guys. See you later. Bye.